There's a rule about retirement withdrawals that almost everybody follows and almost nobody questions. Spend your taxable money first, then your traditional retirement accounts. Save the Roth for last. It sounds so sensible that most couples never look at it twice. And that is exactly the problem. Because for a lot of married couples, following that order in that exact sequence quietly builds a tax bill in their 70s that they never saw coming. So let's actually take the rule apart, where it came from, why it's incomplete, and what a smarter version looks like. I'm going to use a couple to walk through it. We'll call them Jim and Denise. First, why the rule exists at all. Because it isn't stupid. The logic is deferral. Every year money sits inside a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, it grows without being taxed. Every year money sits inside a Roth, it grows without ever being taxed at all. So the instinct is, let the sheltered accounts keep compounding as long as humanly possible and live off the account that's already been taxed once. That instinct is fine. It's just incomplete. Because it optimizes for one single thing, delay, and it completely ignores the thing that actually decides your lifetime tax bill, which is not when the money comes out. It's what bracket it comes out in. Here's Jim and Denise. They both stop working at 64. Between them, they've got about $1,400,000. $200,000 of it is in a regular brokerage account. $1,100,000 is in traditional retirement accounts. And about $150,000 is in a Roth. They do everything the textbook says. They delay Social Security to 70 to get the bigger check. They live off the brokerage account from 65 to 70. And during those years, their taxable income is almost nothing. They're paying essentially no federal income tax at all, and honestly, they feel pretty good about it. Every April, they look at each other and say, "Can you believe this?" Then 70 arrives. Both Social Security checks turn on, and at 73, required withdrawals from the traditional accounts kick in. Except now that $1,100,000 has grown to about $1.5 million. Their first required withdrawal is around $56,000. Add 2 Social Security checks and a little interest income, and suddenly this couple who paid almost no tax for 8 years is pulling well over $130,000 of income, most of it fully taxable, with 85% of their Social Security now dragged into the tax return along with it. And here's the part that stings. That required withdrawal isn't a one-time event. It repeats every single year, and the required percentage goes up as they age. They are now permanently in a higher bracket than they were in their 60s, and they will never get those 65 to 73 years back. They didn't avoid the tax. They postponed it straight into the highest income decade of their retirement. And they spent the cheapest tax years of their entire lives doing almost nothing with them. Now let me show you what those empty years were actually worth, because the numbers are bigger than most people assume. Take a married couple in 2026, both over 65, filing jointly. The base standard deduction is $32,200. Being 65 or older adds another $1,650 per spouse, so that's $35,500. And right now, there's an additional senior deduction of $6,000 per person on top of that, which for a couple is another $12,000. Stack all of it, and this couple can have roughly $47,000 of income before a single dollar of federal income tax is owed. Then the 10% bracket runs to $24,800 of taxable income, and the 12% bracket runs all the way up to $100,800. Put it together. A married couple in that situation can have somewhere in the neighborhood of $148,000 of gross income, and their top tax rate is still only 12%. That's the room. That is the size of the window. Jim and Denise had 8 years of that window and used almost none of it. So what should they have done instead? And this is the part I want you to actually sit with, because it's a genuine shift in how you think about the question. The better approach isn't a different order. It's not Roth first or a traditional first. It's that the whole idea of an order is wrong. Instead of draining one bucket completely and then moving to the next, you pull from the brokerage account for your actual living expenses. And separately, every single year, you deliberately move money out of the traditional account, either as a withdrawal or as a Roth conversion, until you've filled the 12% bracket to the brim. And then you stop. Your lifestyle doesn't change at all, your spending is identical, but you're voluntarily handing the government 10 and 12 cents on the dollar today, on money that would otherwise come out at 22 or 24 cents later, in a decade when you have no choice about it. For Jim and Denise, running that play for 8 years moved something like $400,000 out of the traditional account at low rates. Their required withdrawals at 73 shrink dramatically. Their Social Security stays less taxed. And they've built a Roth balance that they can pull from in any year they want, without moving their income at all. If that idea just made something click for you, that the choice isn't which account, it's which bracket, that's most of what this channel is about. Subscribing takes 2 seconds, and I'll keep walking through the rest of it. Now, honest caveats, because there are real situations where filling the bracket early is the wrong move, and anybody who tells you it's always right is selling something. First one, if you give meaningfully to charity, traditional money is worth keeping. Starting at 70.5, you can send money straight from an IRA to a charity, up to $111,000 per person in 2026, and it never touches your tax return at all. If you're a giver, some of that traditional balance has a job already. Second, large medical costs late in life, and long-term care especially, can create deductions big enough to pull money out of a traditional account at a very low effective rate. Emptying that account early can waste that. And third, think about who inherits. If your kids are in their peak earning years, a traditional account they have to empty within 10 years lands on top of their salaries. If they're in a low bracket, it matters much less. Here's what I wish somebody had told me sooner. The withdrawal order isn't an order. It's not a sequence you set once at 65 and follow until you're 90. It's a decision you make every single year about how much room you have left in a cheap bracket and whether you're going to use it or waste it. Some years you'll pull mostly from the brokerage. Some years you'll convert aggressively. Some years, if you have a big medical bill or a large capital gain, you'll do almost nothing. The couples who do this well aren't smarter than everybody else. They just stopped thinking of their accounts as a line to stand in, and started thinking of every year as a container with a certain amount of cheap space in it. So here's your takeaway. Go look at your last tax return. Find your taxable income, then figure out how far you are from the top of the 12% bracket. That gap, that number, is the amount of money you could have moved to the good side of the ledger this year, at a rate you may never see again. If this was useful, subscribe. Every week I take one piece of retirement planning that everybody nods along to, and we actually check whether it holds up. Because a lot of it doesn't, and the people who find out early are the ones who keep the money. I'll see you next time.